All right, and welcome back to another Process to Perform Best of the Basics edition, Wild Card Weekend here. And one thing you saw, especially with a couple of these games in particular, with the favorites losing during Wild Card Weekend, is momentum is a really tricky thing. And sometimes when you have a first bad series, maybe a dramatically bad first series or second series, it is so difficult, especially in the playoffs. And I can't really give you the reasons why. Maybe it's just the increased pressure. Maybe you guys are just feeling nerves a little bit more. But when that snowball starts rolling down the hill, man, it is really, really tough to stop. And you'll see in two of the games we're highlighting, the Pittsburgh game and the Seattle game, both when the favorites are actually losing the matchup at the end of the day, momentum started early in the game and they just couldn't get quite out of their own heads. So check these out. Hope you learn.
So we want to join this game with the Seattle Seahawks first offensive series. And the big thing is we always talk about there's a lot of tells you can kind of pick up. There's a lot of formation cues you can pick up. But really, these guys play each other twice a year. Really, really good matchup every time they play. And because of the dominance of the Rams defense, I mean, obviously they have Ramsey in the back, but really when you talk about this guy is probably the best player in football. And when I say that, I mean, I don't think there's anybody I've ever seen as good at his job than he is at playing defensive line. And I was lucky to play with, the best player I ever played against was on the Seattle Seahawks named Walter Jones. And as good as Walt is, Walt was one of the few offensive linemen you probably had a game plan for. This guy seems to me, he honestly seems unblockable. I don't know exactly what, I don't know what a lot of these teams are thinking when I see a player like 6'8" having to just go against him by himself at all. But we'll kind of get to that later. I really want to emphasize this with this game, and you can see this happened throughout the playoffs. When a team starts out on the wrong foot, when the team starts out with a bad play or starts out with a bad series or maybe two series, a lot of times in the playoffs, that snowball's rolling pretty fast by the time you get to it, and it's tough to stop that snowball from rolling downhill. So when you look at this first play, we look at this, and it's just a simple pitch play. They have numbers. They should have been okay, right? They should have been okay. But as we go back, it's a team sport. And as you look at 83 is usually in this game, the way they'll call it is they have first man inside, right? So right now you'd have 22. So he goes out, he kind of fakes out that guy, and now he takes the linebacker. But really, they're two, potentially Hall of Fame linemen are trying to do a scoop block to that linebacker. And so 22 doesn't get blocked, gets into the play here. And so you start off the first play of the game. Now, these are all scripted plays. They know exactly what defense they're going to be in again. They know how to run that play. You start out, and now you're 2nd and 8 instead of maybe 2nd and 3. So your chances of getting a first down have gone down considerably. So now you go to the second play of the game. So now you look at that second play. We're 2nd and 8. We're running motion, running that whole jet sweep look. Almost immediately, Donald makes his presence felt. And let's just back it up by just saying, first of all, the Rams know how to play these guys, right? And so they've put a guy right over the center, so it's harder for him to slide away. That's the number one thing they've done, is they've made it difficult for the center to leave and help, okay? They've put this guy in a position where regardless of whether or not you're counting him as a down lineman or if there's a guy out here you're counting as a down lineman, you could either be a 4 or 5 down line as far as how the offensive line is going to block this. Ultimately, we know right now watching this that 70's got here because his head's pointed, and 76 has out here. So the way it looks now, he's either going to get no help or he's going to get help late because the center can't just bypass a straight up nose tackle. So you watch this. I mean, it's just very, very difficult to block anyways, but you've got the guy out. And you couldn't do this back in the day, really, because the guy didn't have this kind of speed. Warren Sapp used to line up really, really wide. And you'd have these teams that would line up back in the old 325 looks with the old, the 3-4 look, and they'd bring the guy down on the guard every time. And you have to set a little more vertical than he is now. But you see what happens when you set flat against a player like this. You're just giving him that inside number with the bull. Center's not anywhere to be found in time because he moves so fast. And now you're already got that pressure. Now you just got all kinds of issues. And so, again, a play that probably took a little more time to develop, right? Difficult to develop because of really the pressure from one player. And then we get here on 3rd and 8. We go empty. And again, they're smart in trying to get the ball out. I'm sure you think about the game plan. Hey, when we go empty, we're going to get the ball out quick. We know what the issues are. But they've already set this guy up now. When you look at, okay, what are we looking at for the rest of the game? You got 3 on a side. So right now you know that this center's occupied. This kid right here has this guy every single time, and he's going to have him by himself at least for a minute. And they've just set him up to be. And look at that leverage that Donald can play with. Back in the day, you always look. The way that the NFL works is you go in kind of pendulum swings, right? They want big 335-pound run stoppers, and then they want back 300-pound leverage players that can pass rush, and they go back and forth. It's the offensive line changes to the defensive line changes. And right now, there's just no answer for a guy who's 6 foot 290, whatever, 6'1", 290, has incredible leverage and might be, pound for pound the strongest guy in the league. It's just not fair. Okay, so the Seahawks get a 3 and out. Rams go down and kick a field goal, but they're at home. A lot of things going on here. So they bring this guy in, obviously. Without seeing this, you probably guess it's going to be the Wham play. And you just look at what's happening from a scheme standpoint with the Rams. And now, much, much tighter player, head up. So, again, we talked about this last week. Anytime you have this head up 4 on the tackle, you really somebody's got problems now, because if the center's on his own, like let's say the center's on his own and we're going to scoop either probably out to 50 now because he's a linebacker. Now you have to kind of fan out. So 76 can probably help and then go out late. But this is a bad angle for the guard. This is a terrible angle for the center. And it really makes it important that he takes proper footwork. And now you've got kind of bad angles on the backside. So there's no gaps. Really, he can, at this position, like as a defense, what you're trying to do is fill all the gaps, right? So somebody's responsible for the C, the B, the A, the backside A, the backside B, the C. And then you got your outside flow players. You have everybody accounted for. 1, 2, B, A, B, C. You have everybody accounted for here, but the angles are difficult because this is so wide. Especially difficult right here at the center position. So that guy just dominates the center's block because center takes 1, 2, 3, 4 before going anywhere. Doesn't have proper footwork, doesn't gain any leverage, gets locked out, and now this guy's a great running back, and he has to do this all on his own. Very, very difficult. So you can see the Rams just came to play. You have a false start call, and now it's 2nd down still. And you've seen this play all over SportsCenter. Now look at what they've done now. This is just a traditional nickel defense. They got an underlook. Excuse me, this is dime. And it's not like iPod is doing a bad job here. But this guy is like he's like Thanos, man. He's like inevitable, right? He's gonna get there. You can't release out. But why? So why does this play happen? Really? Watch the center. Center's man blocked. So what happens a lot of times, I used to do this too, it's a bad habit. If you're man blocked, instead of attacking this guy on the line of scrimmage, right there, back up. Now you've attacked him, but you're already 3 yards deep. So now the depth of that pocket's been reset. It's uncomfortable, and now he feels the pressure, tries to escape, right? Escaping to the wrong guy. Unfortunate. So now I think you got 2nd and 34. Okay. So 2nd and 34. What are you going to do here except run the ball, get out of there? And what I love what the Seahawks do here is, knowing it's been a struggle, double team, right? Put the onus on one guy to win a single block, just not lose. and let your double teams win the day here. Great job coming back. Dwayne Brown's an awesome guy to watch. Step, straight up field, attack, knock everybody off. Okay, so now you have options because you've displaced this guy off the line of scrimmage. We talk about, for every foot of displacement, running back gets an extra yard. It's kind of a easy ratio for us to use, but I think it's pretty effective. Great run. Really fun to watch. But unfortunately, it's still 3rd and 20. And when it's 3rd and 20, I mean, you just look at what's happening here again. Now, he already set him up once. These two outside, and really Donald could be rushing. But look at the body. So this is basically the way Cam Wake thinks about rushing the passer, right? We've looked at this before. That body angle, he's pointing right here. Right there. He's telling this guard, man, you better get to right here fast and hang on. And again, we got the 3 to a side, so the center's got to stay. He can't help right away. We can't big slide this over. It looks like the way Ipaita's looking, he's looking here. So they might be all man blocked on that side, which is problematic, right? And right through, game over. And again, we can start talking about footwork and, this guy doesn't have his hands inside. And we could talk about a lot of this stuff. Really? That is just incredibly difficult because of this guy's speed, his leverage. He's basically getting a 5-yard head start and running right into your chest. Is there a lot of things you could do better? Absolutely. But if we're just doing appreciate how good he is and the position that the Rams are putting him in to be successful, 1, 2, and look at those. Look where his hands are. I mean, look, who's going to win? Inside, right? And so now the best player on the field has 2 sacks, and Seahawks are probably net, probably negative yardage for the game so far. And that's what makes this game so interesting, especially in the playoffs. Sometimes that momentum doesn't go away. Love it. As we take a look at the Pittsburgh-Cleveland game, one thing, we've been talking about, kind of if you have a bad way to start the game, it's, we say, okay, you got to bounce back. Sometimes it's really, really tough, especially in the playoffs. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the emotions are magnified or the pressure is magnified, but it's very, very difficult to bounce back after bad plays or consecutive bad plays, bad series, etc. And we've all seen this play. And look, you got a Hall of Fame center and a Hall of Fame quarterback, and sometimes this stuff just happens. I can't tell you how many times we were in Minnesota and the ball went over Brett's head, or one of us would just whiff on a block. I mean, this stuff just happens. But that, the situation ended up in the end zone instead of a safety or on the 2-yard line. It couldn't have started worse. And it's really about now, how do you react from that? How do you transition from that? So we'll just fast forward to their second series now. Bad things have happened. Let's see if we can put a drive together. What's the biggest thing that you can do? We can take away from the Seattle game is, you start one drive, it kind of starts pounding to the second, and all of a sudden you can't get anything going. So this is another example of with the Steelers, they're going to try to start off here a little bit of a run game. And you look, this is one thing the Steelers have been knocked on during this season, or the second half of the season in particular, is the way that they run. Now you got 1, 2, 3, 4 guys plus a center who are in 2-point stances, and they're trying to run. Granted, this is a 6-man box, but these are all high round draft picks. Remember, Cleveland hasn't been good for very long, so they've got a stockpile of good players, right? And you can see not a lot of movement across the line. I mean, Cleveland's kind of doing what they want to do. So you got the 2nd down, passing formation. Good hit and tackle. So you're putting yourself in a 3rd and 1 situation, 3rd and 3 situation, where this is very, very manageable. And you got to get this, from the perspective, before we watch this, but you have, from the perspective of the Steelers, you have to get this. This is actually a huge play in the game. Because the worst thing you can do is give up a touchdown in your first play and then turn around and go 3 and out. Ben makes a hell of a play. Connors makes a heck of a play after the catch, making this happen. But we already see there's going to be pressure. Pouncey does a good job of going and eating a little bit after his linebacker drops, right? But you got that right tackle getting pressure early on Big Ben, and that's, Myles Garrett, who arguably the best defensive player in the game right now. best defensive end in the game, excuse me. Along with probably TJ Watt, who's on the other side here. Now you do get a first down, so you got a little bit of momentum. Run the ball. Great first down run. Fun to watch these guys in this kind of outside seam. You see they kind of hop into their stuff. Interesting technique. Second down, trying to pull. Now, this is an interesting play. If you break this down a little bit. So the way that the Cleveland Browns play this, we looked at it from the Rams' perspective a couple minutes ago, but Cleveland Browns are basically running a jam here because they put this guy in a 4-eye, and this guy's head up. The big deal is if you have a good center and you put this guy head up, you're basically erasing that center. And if you with a team that either likes to A, zone, right? Because if you're playing zone now, if you're zone run game, it's hard on that backside tackle to cut off, right? And it's hard to get this center up to the second level. And if you're trying to run a lot of gap scheme stuff, now they have to make a decision. Do they want the guard to come down and help the center, right, in this position here, or do they want to run that deuce block to pull the right guard around? And so what happens is you watch this play in slow-mo, the guard's going to come down and block that nose tackle. You got a down block by the tackle, and it's really, really difficult to create separation or create any kind of momentum off the line of scrimmage. So if we back it up a little bit more, because of what's happening here, someone's got to rise up. So you either got to go ace 71 up to the backside backer, or you got to go ace chip where 76 ends up cutting him off, and Pouncey has to get across this guy's face, make sure Garrett doesn't get in the backfield, and then rise up. Very, very difficult, and that's why the scheme's so great to run against a team that wants to run that counter trap. So you see, depending on how you want to look at this, one way or the other, whether if 71's supposed to rise or if Pounce is going to try to ace chip up, you're not going to get to 93. He's going to basically have the opportunity to make this play 10 out of 10 times. You see one more time with 89 here. You know, this Taki kid's a pretty tough little kid. 89's giving him absolutely nothing to play with. You see the Browns are coming and playing at one speed, and the Steelers are playing at another. And this is kind of indicative of why maybe the game started the way it did. You know, you're not punching people in the mouth. Short yardage, great job getting a first down. Okay, so you have a little momentum here. We've talked about this before. You don't want to bring guys to the party that don't want to dance, especially right now against a Cleveland team that's hungry, that 19 has gotten on social media and talked trash about, and you have all of these kind of emotions flying around with, you know, can they win this game? Can they take this, you know, streak of not being successful in the playoffs and do something with it? These guys are hungry, and this guy has already proven that he's going to receive pressure instead of enforced pressure on his last play with Taki, and now you've kept him in as a pass protector for this route. And as you watch this, we're basically trying to corral and take two, weak, right? He gets pressure back on Roethlisberger. And what happens? Tough play. He's out of position. We get the interception. And a couple plays later, Jarvis Landry takes it 40 yards to the house with a catch and run. So you go from an opportunity to make some noise and kind of right the wrongs of the first play of the game. And because we've brought people to the party that really, he's not going to naturally be good at this, right? This edge player is going to be better at rushing the B gap or the C gap than Smith-Schuster is at blocking him. That's just fact of life, right? This is a much easier job, and neither of them practice it very much. So net, he's always going to win. You can see his position's completely wrong. All these guys are going wrong way, wrong way, wrong way. They're all, look at the lane that they're giving. So this is problematic, and it's unfortunate, but you know, now you're down 14-0 in the first quarter, and we all know how this game ended up. And it's just, the point is, it's very, very difficult to get out of your own way when things go bad in the first two series.
All right, so as you can see, momentum means everything, especially in the playoffs. You talked about when you hear guys talking about, man, we're coming into the playoffs with a lot of momentum, they're really just kind of self-reinforcing that they have the confidence that it takes to be successful. And the more confidence you carry into the playoffs, it's like that larger reserve of confidence you have. And you can see, even with some of the most confident guys in the world, one bad play, one bad series, two bad series really can wreck you for the entire game, and you can't really climb out of that hole. So something to learn on. Hope you enjoy the rest of the playoffs. Have a good weekend, everybody.